Hey everyone, it's Chris from chrisbeatcancer.com, and I'm really excited because this is going to be a really fun video. I'm going to do a little commentary on a news story that's been bouncing around the last couple days, and you may have seen it. The headline is, Study, Low-carb diet beats low-fat diet for weight loss and heart health. Now, if you read just the headline and the little blurb underneath, this is what you're going to get. Good news for people who like oil more than bread. People on a low-carbohydrate diet lowered certain risk factors for cardiovascular disease and lost nearly 3 times as much weight as those on a low-fat diet, according to a new study. But this isn't a license to hit the butter and meat fats, cautioned Dr. Lydia Bazzano, professor at Tulane and author of the study. So here, now I know a lot of low-carbers that are pushing this study, sharing it on Facebook and Twitter and everywhere, and saying, see, we told you so, look at the low-carb diet is so great. Okay, now this is not a hit piece on the low-carb diet, but what I want to show you is this is like a junk study. It's a terribly designed study. If a bad design study could be a criminal act, this would certainly be one, and I'm going to show you why. So let me take you into the study so you understand what they did and how they reached that conclusion. So number one, the name of this study, you can Google it. It's called Effects of Low-Carbohydrate and Low-Fat Diets. Now, here's what they did. The study researchers, they took 140 people that were, according to them, obese. These people were eating an average of about 2,000 calories per day. Okay? They separated them into 2 groups. Group number 1, they put on a low-fat diet. Group number 2, low-carb diet. Okay? Now, the group on the low-fat diet had their fat intake cut from about 35% on average. That was the baseline of the 35% of their calories per day. They cut that down to a low fat of 30% or less. So they cut their fat intake from 35% to 30% or less. Okay? That's not a low-fat diet. I eat less fat than that every day. My average fat intake is about 23, 24%. So I'm already on a lower fat diet than the people in this study. And I'm not even trying to be low fat. Here's the kicker. 30% of a 2,000 calorie a day diet is 600 fat calories per day. This is not a low-fat diet, okay? All right. Now, here's where it gets pretty interesting and more comical. The low-carb group, they had their carbs cut by 75% from about 240 grams a day down to 40 grams. Okay? So the fat group, their fat was cut by 5%. The low-carb group, their carbs were cut by 75%. 75% drop here, 5% drop here. That seems pretty even, right? Now, Dr. David Katz wrote an excellent article. I'll link to it below this video, but his opinion was this study should have been titled A Comparison of the Best Low-Carb Diet in the World to the Worst Low-Fat Diet We Could Come Up With. And that appears to be what it is, because they didn't give these people a specific diet to follow. They just said, cut your fat intake by 5%. So they're eating the standard American junk Western diet with slightly less fat in it, okay? That is not a healthy diet. That's certainly not a healthy version of a low-fat diet, okay? So don't be fooled by this. Now, at the end of the year, this was the big conclusion of the study. At the end of the year, the low-carbers lost about 12 pounds, okay? They lost most of that in the first 3 months when they were really sticking to the diet. The low-fat diet people lost 4 pounds at the end of 12 months. They lost almost 6 pounds in the first 3 months, and then they kind of gained a little back, just like the low-carbers did. Okay? So the low-carbers lost more weight, 3 times as much weight. That's the big headline on a low-carb diet, which again was only about 12 pounds in a year, which is pretty terrible as far as weight loss. I mean, you lose 12 pounds and you're obese, you can't even tell. Now, there was also changes in their heart disease risk score. So this was the Framingham risk score that estimates their 10-year risk for heart disease. So the people on the low-fat diet, their heart disease risk score went up about 0.4%. Okay, remember, wasn't really a low-fat diet, still standard American junk diet. So yeah, that's not a surprise. You know, you cut 5% of fat out of a standard American junk food diet, don't expect to get any good results. Now, the low carbers, they had this dramatic diet change, and their heart disease risk score went down a whopping 1%. 1%. As if we should throw a huge party on how amazing this study was. 1% reduction in risk? Is anyone excited about that? So it really doesn't show very much progress, even on this so-called wonderful low-carb diet. Okay, but why did they lose so much weight? Well, because when you cut 75% of someone's carbs out of their diet, they're going to eat less calories, and that's exactly what happened. They ate an average of 200 calories less than the low-fatters per day. So you take two groups and you cut 200 calories out per day. This group will lose more weight. And guess what happens when you lose weight? When you're obese and you lose weight, your heart disease risk factors go down. There's another way to lower heart disease risk factor, and that's by smoking crack or crystal meth, because you will eat less, you will not be as hungry when you're doing those kind of drugs, and guess what? You'll lower your risk factor. It has nothing to do with the diet whatsoever. And so trying to correlate or even, present some kind of causation that the low-carb diet makes you heart healthier, no, not at all. Losing weight makes you heart healthier. Cutting your calories, if you're obese, lowers your risk factor for heart disease, and it doesn't matter how you do it. You can do it eating Twinkies as long as you eat less calories than your body needs every day. With me? So, again, I'm not demonizing the low-carb diet. I'm not even attacking it. I'm just attacking the study because I think it's a terribly designed study where, again, they took a low-carb diet, lots of meat and fat, maybe a little bit of vegetables, very little fruit, and compared it with a, quote, low-fat diet, which wasn't low in fat at all, and was the standard American junk food diet. When you put someone on a low-carb diet, they can't eat a lot of junk food. Naturally, when they cut out the carbs, they can't eat cakes and cookies and bread and drink Cokes. And so they're going to cut out a lot of junk food because a lot of junk food is junk carbs. When you put someone on a low-fat diet, they can keep eating all that junk food and those, again, sodas and candy and all kinds of stuff. Then they're still on a low-fat diet. So, again, people, let's just think about these things. Let's use our brains. When you see a headline like this, take a few minutes to read a few articles about it, to get the full story, to get the study, the actual design of the study, not just the headline. Because when you do, then you'll get to the truth. So again, this study really proves nothing. I'm not, for the third time in this video, not trying to attack the low carbers, just saying this study is a terrible one. And any self-respecting low-carb promoter should not be referencing such a badly designed study. By the way, if you wanted to make one that was a really great study, you take a low-fat diet that was something along the lines of Dr. John McDougall's program, where they really are eating, maybe 10 to 20% of their calories from fat, no oils whatsoever on his program, and they're eating tons of starchy, high-fiber beans, rice, potatoes, and of course all your cruciferous vegetables and some fruit. That would be a super healthy, plant-based, 95 to 100% even vegan, plant-based low-fat diet. That's the kind of diet you want to study compared to the low-carb diet, the Atkins or the paleo or the zone or a ketogenic diet. And then look at the changes in weight loss and heart disease risk factors. And I think you'll find a very different conclusion when you put someone on a ultra healthy, which would be just a whole foods plant-based diet. You don't have to call it a low-fat diet. It's just naturally lower in fat versus, again, the low-carb diet in this study. All right, that's all I got to say about this. Thanks for watching. Please share this video. My handle is chrisbeatcancer. You can find me on Facebook and Twitter. Subscribe to my channel. And anytime you see somebody, promoting this silly research and this article, just share my video with them. I think once they really think about it, they'll see that this is not a great study and not one worth referencing in the ongoing low carb versus low fat debate. See ya.